All right, so let's keep going. You might want to push pause right now and try to do letter B up here from example 1. If you're feeling confident about this, that's the next one we're going to do. It's up to you. Do it first and then watch me, or do it along with me. It's completely up to you. All right, so here's what we need to do on letter B. We need to move the 60 to the other side. So I'm going to say negative 60 equals x squared minus 16x. Okay, I've moved this constant number again over to the other side. You just want the x squared and the x on the same side. And that's going to be a theme throughout the entire chapter now. So we want to make sure we've got that concept clear. The constant number gets moved to the other side. Okay, so we're going to complete the square for x. So we're going to take the number in front of x, negative 16, divide it by 2, that's negative 8, and then square it. Negative 8 squared is 64. So we're going to be adding 64 to both sides of the equation. You have to add it to both sides. Again, you've known since you started solving equations, what you do to one side of an equation, you have to do to the other. So again, I add 64 to both sides. So 64 plus negative 60, that's 4, equals x minus 8 squared. Okay, it was negative 8 before I squared it. So that's why it's x minus 8 squared. And now move this 4 to the other side. You can get the y back in there. Y equals x minus 8 squared minus 4. Okay, so what is your vertex? Your vertex here would be 8, comma, negative 4, opposite of what's in here, comma, this back number. And if they ask you for line of symmetry, you would say x equals 8, the x part of the vertex. All right? Okay, now, we've got a little bit of our work cut out for us on the next few, which have odd numbers in the middle. So a little bit harder. Let's kind of see what we can do. So let's go to example 1, letter A here, and see what we got. So let's move the 40 to the other side. Same work here. Negative 40 equals x squared plus 3x. Okay, we're going to take the number in front of x, 3, divide it by 2, and then square it. This is where this gets a little tough because you are going to keep the fraction. No calculators and decimals. Put your calculator away. You don't need it. Okay, 3 squared on the top, that's 9. 2 squared is 4, so that's what we're going to add, is 9 over 4 to both sides of the equation. Okay, now, pay attention. I know some of you struggle with fractions. You really shouldn't, but you do. So now, what we're going to have here is we've got to add these two things together, the 9 over 4 and the negative 40. So what you're going to have to do that is you've got to make a common denominator. So this is 40 over 1. The common denominator for 4 and 1, is 4. So multiply by 4, top and bottom. Okay, so we're going to have actually 9 over 4 plus negative 160 over 4. Again, we're multiplying by 4, top and bottom. So now, what we have on this side is 9 over 4 minus 160 over 4. I'm just trying to combine these two things together. That makes negative 151 over 4 equals, this is going to be x plus 3 over 2 squared. Okay, x plus 3 over 2 squared. Move your 151 over 4 over now, and you're going to have y equals x plus 3 halves squared plus 151 over 4. Okay, and now you have that in vertex form. I've kind of run out of room there to write, but your vertex would be negative 3 halves, comma, 151 over 4, right? All right, so let's try another one. I kind of have a lot of room here for letter D, so let's come down here. This might be the last one of these type that I do, and then I'll finish off with ones with a number in front here today. So, for example D, again, move the 3 over to the other side, ignore the y. So you're going to say 3 equals x squared plus 7x. You'll take the 7, the number in front of x, divide by 2, and then you'll square it. 7 over 2 squared is 49 over 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 49 over 4 to both sides of the equation. Add 49 over 4. Again, you need a common denominator with this 3 over 1 to add those. What's the common denominator for over 4 and over 1? You're right, it's 4 on the bottom. So multiply by 4 top and bottom. So what you actually have here is 49 over 4 plus 12 over 4 equals, now let's factor this right now, we might as well, x plus 7 over 2 squared. Okay, so now let's combine like terms, and we're going to have 49 plus 12. That's going to be 61 over 4 equals x plus 7 over 2 squared. Some of you are still wondering, where did that 7 over 2 come from? Remember, it's the number before I square it. That's what goes in here. It was 7 over 2 before I squared. Subtract the 61 over 4 over, and you're going to have it. So it's going to be y equals x plus 7 over 2 squared minus 61 over 4. Okay, and that would be your equation in vertex form. Again, I know today is kind of long. There's a lot of information here, but it's going to make the rest of the chapter a lot easier for us if we understand this concept, okay, that we can actually do it. All right, so now to do the completing the square with a number in front of x, this is a little bit more complicated. Let me start with letter B here to get this going. You still want to move this constant number to the other side. So you're going to move that 7 over. 7 equals 2x squared minus 4x. Okay, just move the 7 over. But now here's the difference, and this is really critical, you guys. You have to be able to do this for the next couple lessons. This next step. So please, please, please concentrate. I know where kids have problems, and this is it. So concentrate, concentrate, concentrate. Okay, so what you're going to do is you are going to take the 2 out. Okay, so I'm going to factor out the 2. 2 times x squared minus 2x, leave some space, okay, inside of a parenthesis. So all I'm doing is taking out the common factor. You've taken out common factors before. I divided out the 2 from both of those parts. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to complete the square for the x squared and the 2x part. You're going to take the number in front of x, negative 2, divide it by 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, and square it. Negative 1 squared is 1. Okay, so again, I'm taking the number in front of x, dividing it by 2, squaring it just like I would have done before. I'm going to add the 1, but listen to me, this is the important part. You did not add just 1. You added 2 times 1. So what we add to the other side is 2. Not just the 1. You might need to go back and watch these videos a couple times. This is complicated. But it's supposed to be a review too. But we're not mentioning that. Alright, 2 plus 7 makes 9. So 9 equals 2 times x minus 1. It was minus 1 before I squared it. Squared. Move the 9 back over and you're going to have it. Y equals 2 times x minus 1 squared minus 9. Okay, and now you're in vertex form. Let's try one more together, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the video off. I'm going to have you do the last 2 on this page, and then I'll come back and finish with one more video so you can check to see if you did it right. Okay, so for example 2, letter A here, let's move the 1 to the other side. So you're going to have negative 1 equals negative 3x squared minus 6x. You've got to move this 1 over. Okay, now you're going to have negative 1 equals, you've got to factor this negative 3 out. So divide both parts by negative 3. It's going to be negative 3 times x squared plus 2x. Again, negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2. So now you're going to take 2, divide by 2. You always take the number in front of x, divide by 2. That's 1. Square it. 1 squared is 1, so you'll add 1 in the parentheses. And then you'll do negative 3 times 1 to figure out what you add over here. Again, that is the most common mistake right there. So that students don't do the negative 3 times 1 part. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, and that's what's going to get added to this other side. All right, now you're set. So you got negative 4 equals negative 3 times x plus 1 squared. Move the 4 over. Y equals negative 3 times x plus 1 squared plus 4. Again, I'm moving the 4 over by adding it. And now we've got it. Vertex would be negative 1 comma 4. And line of symmetry would be x equals negative 1. Okay, so I'm going to stop it here. What I want you to do is I want you to do letter A and letter B. And then go ahead and switch to the last video, part 4 here. I know it's kind of a long one today. Go ahead and switch to that. And then you can see if you got these last 2 correct. I'll do a full video on those for you to watch. Okay, see you guys in a couple minutes. Do those questions.